Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the T&G Design Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Now, in this particular video, this is part 3 of what does it mean to stand out. And in this particular video, we're actually going to be focusing on what does it mean to stand out as a business brand. Now, part 2 was all about personal brands, and obviously part 1 was just talking about what does it mean to stand out in general. In this third part of the series, we're literally going to be focusing on business brands. We're going to be talking about all those key things, the 3 main key things, and how they actually attach themselves to business brands and what does it even mean when it comes to standing out as a business brand. But more specifically, we're going to be deep diving into a brand that's out there at the moment and going super strong. And it's actually one of my favorite brands, more specifically. Before you get stuck into it, though, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. As always, please go ahead and equally share it with other like-minded people, because as always, I want to make sure that the idea of knowing that you are more than what you see gets spread to as many people as possible. And I do that by way of my vehicle, which is branding. Now, with branding, the minute you understand that you are more than what you see, you actually elevate your brand in a hell of a way that really just allows you to sit more congruently with what it is that you do, and more specifically allows you to show up in a way that doesn't lose yourself in the process, because that can happen, by the way, folks. It really can. Anyway, before you go ahead and get stuck into this video, please go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel, and as always, stick around to the very end, because the principles that I've got to actually share with you towards the end of this video will actually help you to elevate your brand even more so. And it's going to help you to show up in a way that you would never even think to show up. So folks, without further ado, let's go. So okay, as I said, we're going to be talking about what does it even mean to stand out, but more specifically to a business brand. Now, in my last video, obviously I was talking about the idea of what does it mean to stand out as a personal brand. So we use the idea of Michelle Obama, right? And more specifically, how she shows up and how she creates inspiration, aspiration, and equally a level of awareness that lends itself to the idea of self, value self, discovering self, being mindful of self, and knowing that self, as in you, as in me, as in everybody, as the individual, has a place in spaces where you would typically feel like you would want to shy away from. No, you deserve to be in those spaces. And I believe that that's her way of making sure that others are encouraged, anybody who comes across her platform, to be able to understand that by way of how she's inspiring, by way of how she's creating an awareness of things, but equally also by way of how she's creating a level of aspiration that gets other people motivated to get up and move. So, now, those key 3 things that I just shared with you, inspiration, aspiration, and awareness, how does that lend itself to business, especially business brands? So in this particular video, I'm going to be touching base on a brand that a lot of people are aware of, and literally it's an everyday household name, and it's actually one of my favorite brands. And I'll share with you why as I keep talking, but at the same time, know that this particular brand touches base on a lot, creates aspiration on a lot, and equally creates awareness as well as inspiration on a lot of things. And I'm talking about the brand called Dove. And for those of you who don't know Dove, know that Dove is all about with the idea of real beauty. And will always showcase what real beauty means to Dove, but equally showcases what real beauty means in a way that really resonates with so many people, including myself. I really love this brand simply because it does that. It touches base on so many topical issues that really resonate not only with myself, but I can see that it resonates with so many others. To me, they nail it on most occasions. So you as a business brand, what does that even mean for you? How are you creating a level of inspiration, a level of awareness, and a level of aspiration that will get others to be moved and motivated? Dove does that by showcasing people that look like their audience, represents their audience, and allows a level of relatability to be able to create that relationship with their audience. So I know I'm conscious that I've said a lot right there, but at the same time, how are you relating to your audience? How are you relating or even creating that level of relationship, that commonality factor, in fact? How are you creating that with your own business brand? Who do you represent? Who is your audience? Are you showcasing your audience or giving examples as to what your audience could look like within the ads that you're showing, or within the things that you're showcasing on your social media? What do they look like? What do they sound like? How do they even speak? What kind of music could they be into? What age range? For example, if your audience members were born in the 80s, they're going to be resonating with a certain type of music, right? Typically. For example, if your audience is between the age of 30s to 40s or even 50s, you know that by way of tapping into certain types of music genres from the 80s or from the 90s, they're going to be resonating with them. Even if you tap into cult classics like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or even Boomerang, or things like that, typical films of those specific times, and relating to what your product or your service is about in that kind of a way, they're going to get it. They're going to create a level of commonality because of those aspects, because they remember. Now, that's Dove. And as I said, Dove touches base on the idea of inspiring others to be able to see themselves in their ads, to be able to see themselves in their product, and equally how that product can then help them. Because when you start seeing yourself or positioning yourself in front of a product or in front of a service that is literally targeted to you, you'll naturally want to go for it. Because you'll see others like you literally doing great things. You'll see others like you literally being healed or being changed in a way that you now want to get to, because you're stuck in a specific position that you want to move from. How are you helping your audience to move? That's one thing, and the key thing, not one thing, but it's one of the main key things to be able to understand for your business, to be able to understand when it comes to standing out as a business brand specifically. How are you helping others to move? Because when you create that level of relatability, that commonality, you inspire, you create aspiration, you also create a level of awareness that gets them to see, as in your audience, to see that yes, there is a way forwards, and yes, we can actually help you. Because look, we've helped others who look like you, we've helped others who sound like you, we have helped others who are your same age, in fact. Another example, there's a brand over here in the UK called B&Q. During Valentine's, that whole period, B&Q, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much like a Home Depot in the US, or any kind of hardware store. It's quite one of the big brands over here. Now, during their Valentine's campaign, they literally used elements of their hardware stuff. Let's just call it that, right? For example, in one of their campaigns, they said, "The minute I saw you," as in showcasing an actual short saw, "I fell in love with you." You know, so it's using elements of their product in that kind of a way. How can you create that level of relatability that others get? Have a little tongue-in-cheek kind of a twist to it, you know, especially when it comes to your socials. How are you creating a level of entertainment that brings about a way that you can stand out? Think about what, again, your VPV is. I mentioned it in part 2 of this video series. Your VPV, as I said, and I will tell you till I'm blue in the face, it creates the foundation as to what your brand is about, personal or even business. Your VPV is super congruent to what sets your foundation so that you can build off of it and start elevating in a way that, as I said, always, always, always sits well and true to what it is that you do and why it is that you do it. Understand your VP, you'll understand your awareness, you'll understand your aspiration, you'll also understand the inspiration, or how to inspire your audience. So really take those into account, folks. Now, I could give you examples till I'm blue in the face. I actually have a few examples on my blog, on my website, thetngdesigns.co.uk. Check it out. But yeah, folks, how are you standing out in a way that's congruent to you and your beliefs? And if you do get stuck on that, especially when it comes to discovering your VPV, use the link in the description box below and it will help you to discover that. that particular link, when it comes to talking about the key principles as to how you can get branding even better, but equally more specifically, how you can elevate or stand out in a way that's congruent to what it is that you stand for specifically, without losing yourself in the process, you use those principles specifically, and you literally start seeing yourself stand up or even show up in a way that sits way better to what it is that you stand for. And you start seeing changes in the process, and you start making better connections in the process. And to top it off, you're also going to start showing up in spaces that you never would have thought that you could actually start resonating your message in. You're going to start showing up in spaces in a way that people will actually start taking you seriously because you get it. And folks, have you ever been in a position where sometimes you're talking and you're talking and you're talking, you're thinking, what the hell am I even saying? I've most definitely been in those positions. However, where the difference lies is, you know how to bring it back to conversation because you remember what your VPV is. You remember what your principles are, and you remember how it is that your brand should be recognized and remembered at all times. These key principles that I want to actually share with you will help you to do that, and they'll help you to show up, as I said, in a way that's better and congruent to what it is that you stand for and why it is that you really, really, really do what you do. So folks, I'm going to leave it there. Please make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. And as always, please make sure that you share this with as many people as possible who really need to hear this message. Folks, I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you on the other side.